Hello and welcome to my review of the Eldar made to order Farseer and made to order Ranger who is kneeling. Instead of making a separate review for each of them, I thought I'd just bundle them both into the same review, and that's because I've done a review of a Farseer before, the one in the Start Collecting set. So although I'll go through some of his rules in this video, I've pretty much covered them before. Now, price-wise, before I get into all of that, the Farseer, when that was available, is £10. That's how much this sort of monopose metal miniature cost, £10. The Ranger Kneeling is cheaper at £7, even though the Ranger Kneeling has consists of more parts. When I say more parts, it is literally two parts. The Farseer, of course, he just consists of one part. It's just him. You know, just comes out of the mould like that. So these were part of the new release for the codex, the new Start Collecting box set that came out, I think, a month or so ago. And what Games Workshop did is they had, I think, about 8 models available for you to order. They'd go away and they'd make them, and then they would send them to you within about a month. I think it's about 30 days or so. So I jumped at the chance of that to be able to get miniatures that I missed out on getting, that have been out of circulation for many years, and I managed to pick up these two. I didn't get all of the Eldar ones because not all of them appeal to me, even for nostalgia's sake, because with a few of them I wasn't even affected by the nostalgia, because I never really saw them the first time around. But either way, we've got these two. What I will say is, obviously they're metal models, and Games Workshop over the years have moved away from metal models. I think metal models used to be their main miniature. I'm sure they used to be the main miniature. I remember when I was a kid, there used to be whole racks of metal miniatures, metal knobs, metal killer cans. Pretty much most of my aspect warriors are metal. Everything from my striking scorpions to my fire dragons to my dark reapers, my wraith lords even are metal. Even parts of my fire prism are metal, like the cannon is metal, and it weighs the whole grav tank down. What I'm saying is most of their models were metal at that time, and they weren't that expensive, not in the grand scheme of things. I mean, you know, you're looking at, I know the size is completely off, but you're looking at a metal model here, the Farseer. I'll probably say that it is a £2–3 more than he possibly was when he first ever came out, but £10 for a metal miniature compared to, you know, I mean, this isn't a £22.50 miniature, but a £22.50, you know, plastic miniature. When in reality, typically the metal miniatures, although they were metal and they were hard to sort of work with, they often had a lot more detail than the plastic ones. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, and I don't really want to go into a metal versus plastic versus resin debate, or do I? It's a resin model too. But you see where I'm coming from. Games Workshop used to make a lot of models in metal. They moved away from that and tried to make most of them in plastic. Then they toyed with fine cast for a while too, and now they're back on the track of trying to bring out all the models in plastic. I mean, can you imagine if they tried to bring out an Imperial Knight back then, the number of metal parts that it would have? I mean, my Dreadnought was metal, and now you're getting, you know, Redemptor Dreadnoughts that are all plastic, and soon an easy to build Dreadnought. So I think the hobby has now got more choice than it ever has, and it's definitely more flexible. So moving on from that, let's have a look at the models themselves. So the Farseer, £10. I never had this original Farseer. I remember, I think a couple of people did at my club, and I always thought he looked a bit sort of non-Eldar-ish, you know, because he had kind of like these bug lenses on his helmet. He had kind of like this Egyptian kind of goatee beard thing, very kind of like Egyptian kind of looking. He's got all these like little writing and runes on part of his helmet. He's got this like samurai sword kind of thing. Obviously, like it's a witch blade or something like that. But yeah, very interesting model. Lots of detail. Pain to get any mold lines off of metal, I tell you. An absolute pain. And then we have the Eldar Ranger Kneeling or Observing. I think his Ranger rifle is straight now. It might just be because he's sort of crouching at an angle. But again, another model with a lot of detail there. So this one is kneeling, and my other Rangers are metal too, in fact. So, and then there's another sort of gun that he's got. I've just now realised that that piece needs to be chopped off. That's another piece I missed. Yeah, a lot, very easy to miss these flash parts off of metal and off of resin actually. Well, the fine cast that is. So yeah, that's the Ranger 2. And what I'll do before I carry on with the rest of the review is just do a few size comparisons. So next to a Space Marine, the Farseer is, I think, almost a bit taller. Yeah, the Farseer is definitely taller than a normal Space Marine, and the Ranger is obviously shorter, but he is kneeling, so there you go. And then next to a Primaris, it sort of dwarfs that Farseer now, Primaris, and the same for the Ranger. So there you go, hope that helps. So now what I'll do is I'll just go through the rules for both of them. You'll find them in your brand new Eldar codex or Craft Worlds codex. Obviously the Farseer is right at the front, right next to Eldar Farseer. He will cost you 6 power points in match play. So 6 power points, his stat line is a movement of 7 inches, weapon skill 2+, ballistic skill 2+, strength 3, toughness 3, 5 wounds, very decent, only got 2 attacks, leadership's height at 9 and a save of 6+. However, he does have the rune armour like the Warlocks and the Spirit Seer, so that gives him a 4+ invulnerable save. He's a single model armed with a Shuriken Pistol and a Witchblade. The Shuriken Pistol is, like all the Shuriken Pistols, it's range 12-inch pistol, 1 weapon with a strength of 4, a damage of 1, but whenever you get 6s to wound, the hit is resolved with an AP of -3. So that can really put a thorn in your enemy's side. He's equipped with a Witchblade. That's a melee weapon, strength of the user it's only 3, damage is D3, however it always wounds on a 2+, so you're going to be hitting on 2+, wounding on 2+, yeah, you're only getting your 2 attacks, but your damage could be damage 3. You can replace its Witchblade with a Singing Spear, and the Singing Spear has 2 weapon profiles, one of shooting and one of melee. So the shooting attack is a range 12-inch, assault 1, strength 9, damage D3, and it always wounds on a 2+. So that's going to be great against vehicles with that strength 9 and a D3, and against multi-wound models, and against high toughness models, you've always got that wound of a 2+. In melee, it's the same story. You know, the strength is user, but of course it always wins on a 2+ anyway. So you're going to be throwing this at vehicles and hitting people in close combat. The abilities, it's got Ancient Doom and Battle Focus. The Farseer has a Ghost Helm, so you roll a d6 whenever the model suffers a mortal wound, adding 3 to the roll if the mortal wound was inflicted as a result of the Psyker suffering perils of warp. And on a 5+, the wound is ignored. So it's great that he gets a chance of ignoring wounds. Got rune armour, as I said before, 4+ invulnerable, and runes of the Farseer. Once in each psychic phase, you can re-roll any number of dice used for the model's attempt to manifest or deny psychic power. So you can re-roll any number of dice. The Psyker can attempt to manifest 2 psychic powers in each friendly psychic phase, and attempt to deny 2 psychic powers in each enemy psychic phase. So 2 for 2 there, that's good. Also knows Smite and 2 psychic powers from the Runes of Fate. So the Farseer differs in that it's a much upgraded version of a Warlock with better weapon skill, better ballistic skill, more than double the wounds, a better leadership. It has the Ancient Doom and the Battle Focus, and it also has the rune armour, but the Farseer has the runes of the Farseer and the Ghost Helm, which helps it with the psychic powers. And obviously it can manifest 2 psychic powers instead of the 1 for the Warlock, and deny 2 instead of the 1 for the Warlock. And also it knows 2 psychic powers from the Runes of Fate instead of the 1. So it's definitely a bumped up Warlock. And the Warlock falls down in that the weapon skill and ballistic skill just doesn't cut it, doesn't have many wounds, although a Warlock does have access to a Singing Spear. But I would prefer to take a Spirit Seer over a Warlock anyway. So that's the Farseer. Let me just talk a little bit about the Ranger. So the Ranger isn't a special character or anything like that, and they don't even have kind of like Ranger Exarchs, which is in a similar sort of scope as the Guardian Defenders or Storm Guardians, in that they don't have like a, you know, like a leader or veteran sergeant or anything like that in the squad. They don't have an Exarch. It's just your group of Rangers. But I will talk about the Rangers. So you can just add this Ranger into your unit of Rangers. Now I've only got, I think, 3 Rangers, so with this one it makes 4, so I'm gonna have to get a box set of them at some point, but I'm holding off until they properly refresh the Eldar range and bring out all the Aspect Warriors in plastic box sets, and including Rangers and Fire Dragons and things like that. That would be a great start, and I hope they're going to do that when they're going to release the new, bigger, sort of Mortarian sized Avatar of Khaine 2. Fingers crossed for that. Moving back onto Rangers then. Rangers power cost will be a 3. Their points cost is 12 points per model. I always took them because they were quite cheap, and they have the chameleon cloaks, which I'll talk about in a moment. Their stat line, movement 7 inches, so like a lot of Eldar units, quite fast moving. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 3+, that's pretty good. Strength and toughness are both 3, so unfortunately 1 wound, 1 attack, leadership isn't that good at 7, and a save of 5+. Contains 5 rangers, but you can have an additional 5 more, and they're all equipped with Shuriken Pistols and Ranger long rifles. Now the Shuriken Pistol, as always, like I said with the Farseer, range 12 inches, pistol 1, strength 4, damage 1, and when you make a wound roll of a 6+, you get the AP -3 instead of 0. But the Ranger long rifle is a 36-inch range weapon. It's a heavy one, strength 4, damage 1. However, the weapon may target a character even if it is not the closest enemy unit. Each time you roll a wound roll of a 6, it inflicts a mortal wound in addition to any other damage. So that's great. You want to target that character and it's not the closest unit, you can do so, and you get your 6s to wound, and then you're getting a mortal wound. Not reducing the AP or anything like that, you're getting that mortal wound. So you have 10 of these Rangers, and say you get 4 or 5 6s maybe, that's very decent. There might be a chance of getting that with a ballistic skill 3+. I used to like the old rules with the sniper rifles, where all sniper rifles, no matter what they were, they could hit on a 2+, because they're a sniper rifle, and they would always wound on a 4+, but they've changed that and it's more tied into the ballistic skill now. The abilities, they've got Ancient Doom and Battle Focus, and the Cameleo line cloaks are not chameleon, but Cameleo line cloaks. The opponent must subtract 1 from hit rolls for ranged weapons that targets this unit. In addition, add 2 instead of 1 to saving throws made for models from this unit that are in cover. So you put these guys in cover and they're getting a 5+ cover save, then that drops down to 3+ cover save. So that's brilliant. And also they have to subtract that 1 to hit them anyway. The final ability is an appear unbidden. During deployment, you can set up this unit walking the winding paths of the webway instead of placing them on the battlefield at the start of the first battle round, but before the first turn begins, the unit can emerge from the webway. Set it up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. So a little bit like Deep Strike, but you're kind of limited to the start of the first battle round, but before the first turn begins, you can just, you know, emerge them anywhere 9 inches away from any more. That might be great if you've got 10 of them and there's a specific character you really want to get rid of. Them appearing somewhere completely different to your main force is always a nice surprise. So in summary, I really like both of these models, hence why I got them. Stay tuned for a full kind of model review with the Bone Singer and the Autarch as well. I'll be doing like a full model made to order review of all those models. And that's all I wanted to say about these 2 made to order Eldar models. Put it in the comments below which ones you got and what your plans are for them. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.